And I think in the world that we live in, maybe the way that we were tied to our homes and unable to do things that we were used to be doing, maybe that tendency to be more comfortable, stay in that comfort zone, is also trying to stay safe. But you cannot get to a new place, to a new adventure, discover a new world if you aren't willing to step outside of your comfort zone and have an adventuresome nature. That doesn't mean risking everything. It just means being willing to take that extra step, consider that other thing that you might do that could add some wonder and whimsy and excitement to what you're doing.
One thing that you find is that it's so easy to get complacent or get into this comfort zone after you've done something special. After you have gotten a few wins under your belt, it's human nature, I think, for us to get sucked into this spot where, like the quote says, all growth ceases to exist. So the comfort zone, I think of it as a lie. The comfort zone is really nothing more than a big lie because you have some fear. You have some reason that you're not willing to move away from the comfort zone and you don't want to take the risk.
Welcome. It's time again for the Truest Fan Blueprint. Welcome, everybody, and especially a big welcome to you, Phil. Great to be with you again today.
Yeah, you too, Rob. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I really like the topic that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about comfort zones. And I recently read a book, The Comfort Crisis, and that really stuck out to me because it speaks to the idea that in life, in business, and a lot of things that we do, we are often fall back to things that we are most comfortable with, and we don't take the extra effort to stretch ourselves. And as we were preparing for this podcast, we came across a great quote. A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. I think that's a good way to put it. Phil, as you think about this, what are things that you see that get people to fall into comfort zones?
Yeah, this is a fascinating topic because as you and I both know, we coach advisors. I've been around successful people, financially successful people, athletes that are very successful. And one thing that you find is that it's so easy to get complacent or get into this comfort zone after you've done something special. After you have gotten a few wins under your belt, it's human nature, I think, for us to get sucked into this spot where, like the quote says, all growth ceases to exist. It's almost like there's no sunlight that's going to pour down on this particular patch of your garden, and then the life becomes dormant, if you will. So the comfort zone, I think of it as a lie. The comfort zone is really nothing more than a big lie because you have, and we've talked about this before, you have some fear. You have some reason that you're not willing to move away from the comfort zone and you don't want to take the risk. You're fearful of something, or you just are, like I said, complacent because you had a big win, or you had a great year in your business, or you brought in more assets, or you had a great race, or whatever it is. And comfort is a lie.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because I think, and maybe if you wanted to water that down a little bit, which I probably shouldn't do, because that may be making this more comfortable. But if it's not a lie, maybe it is feeling like you can't move on from one plateau or one level of a success to the next. And so you tell yourself that this is enough. I can't do any better. And that's the kind of thing that kills business growth. It kills growth in relationships because you just get comfortable with each other, and you say that, well, why stretch this? Why take a chance of doing something different that could jeopardize that comfort, even though you might be thinking about doing it because you want to do more of what that thing is. You want to be a better leader. You want to be a better father. You want to be a better husband, or better at the working on the causes that you care about.
Yeah, and I think you just always have to overcome your comfort zone. To me, if you're ever dreaming, if you ever have been in a position, I know I have many, many times, where your dreams are evolving, who you want to be as a person are evolving. And if you cannot overcome the comfort zone, then you don't ever get a chance to realize what that next big thing is, what that next dream is for you. And that's individualized. It's your dreams are specific to you. They're not from anybody else. And I think that as soon as you have some success, as soon as you get into this comfort zone that we're speaking of, it's a dream killer. It takes your ability to step into risk or to take a chance. And so many great things come in the history of mankind. How many things can you name? I mean, just an infinite number of, they took one more shot at it to improve something, and then lo and behold, it was this revolutionary idea or business or opportunity or relationship or whatever it is.
It's that never giving up sort of attitude that comes from staying uncomfortable, because there's something good about being uncomfortable about what you have. And I love that you brought up dreams, because as you know, in our Truest Fan Blueprint process, the first step is to dream big. It's to think about your life out, 10 years from now, and what are all those things that you would really like to see happen, and to not hold back on those dreams. And it might be about how big your business gets, or the amount of time or the number of trips you're taking with your family, the amount of money that you're able to give to charity or get involved in a charity with your time. It's just really just thinking about the unimaginable is where we start in our process. We don't start in our process saying, what can we do just to get comfortable? Because that's just, a passing step. It's just maybe a next stage that we want to get to. Well, we'll feel comfortable if we can get to this level in our business or this level in a relationship. But then the first question we need to ask ourselves, is that really accomplishing our big dream? Or was that just one of those steps that we got to? And now what's the next step? What's the next level of comfort or success that we want to get to so that we can break through that one too? It becomes a iterative process. It's not just a one-time thing.
Yeah, I remember, almost 20 years exactly. It'll be 20 years next month when I started my financial planning practice. And my dream was to go out on my own and to not have a boss and to not have a job any longer. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had that entrepreneurial itch, as they say. And all I wanted was to replace enough of my current consulting income. I was working for a big consulting company at the time. All I wanted was enough money to replace the basics. A very, very young family. My sons were 4 years old when I started my business. And that was my dream, to go out on my own and to start and to replace just enough of that income that I could work for myself. I could do my own thing. And fortunate for me, I didn't stay in that comfort zone. I expanded it. And then I wanted to make enough to hire my first employee. And then I wanted to hire my first employee and pay the office, all the office utilities and the rent, and then have a 401k for my staff. And you keep evolving these comfort zones. And when you don't evolve your comfort zones, that's where your dream gets buried. And I used that in my own business, in my own trajectory of my career, as the kind of the motivator, the inspirer, or the inspiration, I should say, to keep me leveling up, right? And not getting stuck in the comfort zone. Because if I'd have just said, well, at the time, I guess I was 33, 32 years old, I could have said, well, if I make $150,000 to $180,000 a year in this business enterprise, then I'm comfortable. That's what I was making. And thankfully, I didn't do that. I kept expanding the comfort zone. And now I look back on it and it was fantastic that I did that.
Yeah. No, it's a great example because it talks about a number of things. But one of the things that I drew from the way that you described that was that comfort zone, or those different steps in your different levels of comfort zones as you went through that process, may have been based on something financial, like replacing your employee income or having enough money to be able to hire your first staff. But each one of those things that you described, you also talked about how that impacted things outside of your business. You talked about taking care of your sons and having fun with
That's
them.
right.
So sometimes, maybe a comfort zone that we have about what we want to do in our businesses limits what we're able to do for those other things that we care about outside of our work, like our family relationships. And sometimes that comfort zone that we get into with our families, we tell ourselves, well, we can't do things differently because that will interrupt that rhythm that we have at home. And then we let the rhythm that we have at home mollify the success that we have outside of the home and the work that we do for charities or the work that we do in our work. So there's a real interplay in that beautiful place where nothing grows isn't just a garden with, one vegetable. There's lots of different vegetables and maybe some flowers growing too, that if we stay uncomfortable, everything grows, not just that one thing that we may have our minds on.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. One of the things that I just popped into my head too, a word is adventure. One of the things that Trish and I talk about regularly as we are building our relationship and our love together is, what's the next adventure for us? And it seems to be more and more outside of the realm of our vocation as financial professionals. And think about that. If you are an explorer, when Christopher Columbus left the shores of, I believe he was Portuguese, right? I can't remember my history. But if Christopher Columbus had never been enough out of his comfort zone to get on the boat and actually leave the dock, right? I mean, we have massive shipping examples that we could pull off of, but how good is that boat if you're only willing to tie it to the dock? It's meant to go off the shore. It's meant to explore and be adventurous and search for those things. And if you've traveled even if it's just traveling in our own country, sometimes travel is so daunting. Why? Because you're going out of your comfort zone. You're going into some place you've never been. It's a new city. Maybe it's a new state. And those are exciting for us, but you have to be willing to what? Get out of the comfort zone. And that just popped into my head. The other word is adventure. You can't experience great things in life, and you can't have great epic adventures if you want to stay moored to the dock. You got to cut the anchor loose.
Yeah. And I think in the world that we live in, maybe because of what happened with COVID and the way that we were tied to our homes and unable to do things that we were used to be doing, maybe that tendency to be more comfortable, stay in that comfort zone, is also trying to stay safe. But you cannot get to a new place, to a new adventure, discover a new world if you aren't willing to step outside of your comfort zone and have an adventuresome nature. And it doesn't have
Yes.
that doesn't mean, risking everything. It just means being willing to take that extra step, consider that other thing that you might do that could add some wonder and whimsy and excitement to what you're doing, because getting outside of your comfort zone and accomplishing more is
Yes.
also fun. It's exciting. We talked a couple of weeks ago on our podcast about the importance of enthusiasm for what it is we do.
Yeah, that's true. The comfort zone is just a psychological state, and we can alter our psychological state, but we have to do that from within ourselves, whether, to your point, whether it was COVID, whether it was, recessionary economy, whatever it may be. It's a state of mind, I think, as much as anything. And you have to get out from under what feels familiar, safe, and easy if you want to expand your comfort zone.
So, Phil, what do you think is like the number one action step somebody could take that feels stuck in a comfort zone and wants to go beyond that? What's the first thing that somebody should do?
Wow. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said kind of one of our core tenets in Truist Fan Coaching is step number one, which is to dream big. If you're in a comfort zone, then you haven't had enough time dreaming big. You haven't really thought about that one thing or that next thing. So start there, whether it's in business, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's travel, fitness. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would complete an Ironman triathlon. It is daunting as hell. It is grueling. It, for most people, is something they'd never want to attempt or try, and I totally get that. But as soon as I thought, oh, I think that I want to give this a try, then my think I wanted to try became this all-consuming dream of I can picture myself crossing this finish line, and then the rest is history, as they say. It becomes easier after you can kind of imprint in your mind whatever that dream is. So that's got to be step number one.
No,
Wouldn't you agree?
Totally agree. And it takes me back to the book I wrote, Truist Fan. And I talk about, one of the topics that I talk about is the importance of family. And when we think about comfort zones, one of a topic that comes back over and over again in my coaching work is advisors or business leaders who want to spend more time with their family, but can't get unstuck from the comfort zone of, well, I can take 1 week at a time. I've got that week carved out in the summer where we go to the beach, and the week carved out in the winter where we go to the mountains. And, I'm comfortable there. We have a great time. And they say things like, would it be great if I could do that like once a quarter and not twice a year? It would be great if I could do that for 2 weeks instead of 1 week. And the reason I reference the Truist Fan book is I one of the examples that I give is, if you want to get out of your comfort zone of planning vacations, plan an epic vacation. Stop right now. Put some dates on the calendar out into the future, maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, of this adventure time that you're going to set up for your family. And then spend that time with your family for a while, talking about what that trip, what that adventure could be, and give yourself enough time to experience it. And that can get you out of that kind of comfort zone, which plays right into, Phil, what you said of, take the time to dream about what you want. And it doesn't, have to be, I want a $1,000,000,000 business in 50 years. It can be, I want to have an epic vacation with my family in the next 12 months. You just have to take that first step and dream it up, and then start working your way back to planning it out.
That's right. And just one quick thing that I'll add, because you instilled this in me in our coaching sessions going back a number of years ago. I am an avid and I love snow skiing. It's odd. I don't really like cold weather, but if you have white, fluffy snow on the ground, I want to be playing in it with skis on. And I am now, Rob, planning my 6-week ski vacation, which will take place this winter. And that's all because in your process, in our coaching, in our work together beginning years ago, that was something that was part of my dream big sequence, following that passion and setting things in motion. And it's going to happen.
Right.
It's happened. Actually, the dates are on the calendar as
you
we
aren't
speak.
going from a long weekend skiing to that 6 weeks. You've continuously gotten
That's
more
right.
and more comfortable, or gotten more and more out of your comfort zone, I should say, by taking longer and longer trips and saying, hey, it's possible to do these things, even with all of the other obligations and things that you have going on in your life. And I think that's a great place to end this conversation, because we love to be able to suggest something that you can do as a result of listening to this podcast that can help you become a better version of yourself. And I would encourage you, stop, think about areas of your life where maybe you've allowed yourself to be comfortable. So you may be uncomfortable in some areas because you're really excelling. Other areas you may be holding yourself back. But what is an area that you really feel like the comfort zone is getting in the way, is keeping you from growing? Name that comfort zone. And then name something that you want to do based on the dreams that you have for your future that will get you going in the right direction, and then take the first step. And the example of the epic vacation is a perfect one. Maybe you just want to spend that time with your family. Well, just name it. That's what you're going to do. Second, put the dates on the calendar, just the way Phil puts 6 weeks of skiing on his calendar, and then start planning the details, because everything else can work around it. And I think that's a great way to work through the comfort zone. So it's not a place where you stagnate, but it really is a place that you can grow. With that, Phil, I think that's it for today. Anything else to add here at the last minute?
No, that was a great topic, Rob. So glad we got to do it. And like you always say, I'll say it for us, we're rooting for your success. So go out there and get it.
Absolutely. Take
Talk
care,
to you
y'all.
soon.